Hello everyone and welcome back to another Mirror Dungeon solo video. Today we'll be using the Loyal Warrior Drifting Blade of Hongyuan Ryoshu. She's based off of Lindayu's ally unit that appears in Canto 8, and for the most part they're pretty much identical. The only real difference is that Ryoshu has slightly better conditionals, making her better when she's at max strength, and most of their status applications are swapped around slightly so that it's not just a direct one-to-one ripoff. Some people might even want to compare this identity to Mao Ryoshu, considering the fact that they both are rupture identities, but frankly speaking that's missing the point because while she does have enough rupture in her kit to make it slightly harder for her to kill a rupture stack, she is at her core a poise identity, not a rupture one. In my opinion, the only reason she even has rupture in her kit in the first place is so that she synergizes better with Lord Hongyuan and the Heishous gang in order to ensure she's not simply a dead slot when paired with them. But at the end of the day, she can't support rupture on her own, whereas she can support poise. Only her skill 1 is actually poise count neutral, which at first glance makes it seem that she can't support a poise stack. However, by having her unique status effect of protector stance, which she gains by either using her skill 3 or defense skill, it will give her a single extra poise count at the end of a turn. This is enough to ensure that all of her skills are at least count neutral, which still isn't enough to maintain a poise stack forever because she cannot counteract the natural poise count decay at the end of a turn. But it is enough to keep it alive for long enough for that to not matter. And if that's still a deal breaker for you, don't forget this is still a Ryoshu identity who has access to Thoracalgia and therefore the solution to all of her poise problems. Apart from her being a fairly typical poise identity, the most interesting thing about her comes from her passives. Just like Lindayu, Ryoshu is capable of comboing a skill 1 whenever anyone attacks. This is most useful for rupture tames because when her skill 1 goes unopposed, aka when it's used via her passive, it maintains the rupture stack and gives a free extra trigger of said stack. She's also capable of using her skill 3 for free when one of her allies either dies or gets close to death. This isn't nearly as useful for rupture considering the fact that it requires you to be losing for it to do anything, and the skill itself is count negative. However, I can think of one specific scenario where it is actually useful. You see, it has a special conditional where it can be used more than once if it is specifically triggered by Lord Hongyuan. And Lord Hongyuan is capable of negating death once per fight, as well as negating the insta-kill effect of his own Tears of the Tarnished ego. So what you can do is use that ego, wait for Hongyuan to get low on health, have him tank an attack from an enemy, and then you get to use both Tears of the Tarnished and Ryoshu skill 3 with almost no downsides. That's perhaps the best use case for it, but her synergy with Lord Hongyuan doesn't end there. Ryoshu has a second way to be able to use a free skill 3 when she's paired with Lord Hongyuan. Whenever any identity substitutes a retreating ally while Lord Hongyuan is on the field, they get to use a free skill 1, unless they have either the Heishous or Jia family tags, in which case they will use their skill 3 instead. Ryoshu doesn't have either of these tags, but Project Moon decided that it isn't enough to stop her from using her skill 3 instead with this effect, so they just let her do it anyways. Anyway, to start the runoff, we take these starter buffs and find these ego gifts on the first floor of Dregs of the Manor before making it to the boss against the Dead Rabbits boss.
기운이 솟는다, 단테. 가서 빨리 때려 눕히자고.
Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Mirror Dungeon video. Today, as you can clearly see, we're using... How should I call this character? The Guardian of Hongyuan? Ryoshu? Lindayu?
먼저 끝내고 돌아오는 친구는 맛있는 거
However you say her name, I can't remember how it's spelled, so it's been a very long time since I last saw her name. But anyways, one thing I do remember about the character this identity is based off of is that, yeah, this identity does really feel like how she felt when you were using her, or not when you were using her, when she was helping us in you know, the story mode. And in fact, I really liked how she was designed in the story mode. It was really, really good. She felt like an actual competent character, you know? Because so far we've only had like 2 characters that sort of functioned as an ally to us, and that was Jichun and Lindayu. And of the 2 of them, like, Lin actually feels like a real character, I'd say. And you know, to be honest, that's kind of because Ji-chun just wasn't really that competent of a character, I'd say, but that's kind of beside the point. Anyway, point is, what I'm trying to say is the ally NPC character of Lin felt more like an actual realized character, like a in-game combat character, rather than Ji-chun, who felt like half-baked, if I'm being completely honest.
악당 퇴치 성공! 오늘도 정말 멋진 활약이었어.
We head into Emotional Craving, where we find Imposed Weight, the Manor-shaped music box, Ragged Umbrella, Nebulizer, Devil's Share, and Sticky Muck, before making it to the boss against Fairy Longlegs.
囚人の皆さんの状態に何か変化が。
Alright, so, the big question on everybody's mind when it comes to this identity is... I still don't have a clue what to call her, to be honest, but is this identity better than Mao Ryoshu? And to that I say they're kind of incomparable, because one of them is a pure rupture identity, right? Whereas the other is a poise identity who just so happens to have rupture. It is a very distinct difference between the two of them, right? Because if you are building a pure rupture identity, you're never going to use this identity. Just straight up, you never will. Why would you? She's not that good at building rupture in the first place, so she's fine at it, right? It's not terrible, but it's mostly just there because, like, you know, all of the other identities all the other Heishou identities and Lord Honglu, they're all rupture as well, so she gets rupture too, just so she fits in with her team. But at the end of the day, she's a poise identity, right? She's a poise identity with rupture. So yeah, you can't really compare the two of them. I don't think so. We head into Full Stop by a Bullet for the next floor, where we find the 4-leaf clover, gear shrapnel, dark flame smoking pipe, recollection of a certain day, and fluorescent lamp, before making it to the boss against the Church of Gears. Alright, Church of Gears. Let's go. Love this floor. I hate that it's only accessible on the 3rd floor, though. Makes it very, very restrictive as to when you can take it. Anyway, this floor is usually pretty difficult. At least in order to beat it without using egos, I'd say. Like, the Gear Worshippers, they do a lot of damage, as you can clearly see. Like, they already took off like a good chunk of our health bar already. Turn 1. But really, the biggest, not necessarily issue, but challenge when it comes to this fight is the fact that you're always at a skill deficit. You can never clash with everything. It is genuinely impossible. And because of that, you kind of have to rely on egos to be able to, you know, stagger a ton of the Gear Worshippers so that they don't just instantly kill you all the time forever. But this identity is actually tanky enough that I believe that she can do it without an ego. It helps that we have a lot of healing too, but even without that, I think she could do it. I mean, there's also a lot of stuff that's working against us here in terms of like extra damage and stuff like that, but for the most part, she could do it on her own, I think.
방금 어떻게 하신 거죠? 깜짝 놀랐어요.
흩어져 찾지 못하리.
You know, I'll see if we can get lucky enough to be able to target one of the big dudes at full health with a skill 3, because there is something I want to talk about specifically with that attack. I don't think this one will be able to survive, but who knows. But anyways, one of my favorite things about this identity is specifically the animation that plays when she kills an enemy with the second coin of her skill 3. It's a very, very specific, like, set of circumstances in order for it to happen, but, like, it's definitely my favorite part about her. And it's sort of because the whole animation of her skill 3 played out to full. Yeah, right here. Like that. Where she stabs the spear into the ground and uses it to basically stop herself from flying away. I really like that because, you know, the full animation is basically she does that and then she climbs up on her spear and does a little twirl. It's very nice, but if she kills the enemy early with the second coin, it's like she can't climb up on the spear at that point. So it just feels really nice to watch her just effectively stabilize herself after the attack got canceled prematurely.
방금 전에는 굉장했다고. 베르게 그 인간도 이건 인정할 걸?
But yeah, as you can clearly see, like, we don't have to use any egos, which is very good. It's kind of rare for that to actually happen, to be honest. But this identity is tinky enough that she doesn't need to use egos to beat the treasure gears. Very nice.
찾지 못하리.
敵は深手を負っています。
기꺼이.
It's wild how we're like 10 turns in and we're still at a skill deficit. This fight is crazy, man. There's nothing else like it. Honestly, I wish like most of the regular mob fights were more similar to this one than what they currently are. Instead of like, you know, giving the enemies more skill slots as the turn progresses, they should just add more enemies, you know? I think it's a lot more fun that way. But that's just me.
있잖아. 사실 마법 소녀들은 항상 인력난에 시달리거든. 너희만 괜찮다면 혹시 우리를 도와서
사정없이 몰아붙어.
아니야.
찾지 못하리.
선택의 순간이 필요하니까. 내가 정할 순 없겠네. 아쉽다. 그치? 効果的な攻撃でした.
사정없이 몰아붙어져. 사정없이 몰아붙어져. 찾지 못하리.
아까 했던 공격 덕에 한결 수월해진 것 같아요. 좋네요.
흩어져.
와, 엄청난 공격이었어. 기념할 만한 걸.
흩어져. 찾지 못하리. 흩어져. 찾지 못하리. 있는 힘껏 찔러놓고 으깨놨지만 저것들은 언젠가 다시 재생하겠지.
We head into Hatred and Despair for the next floor, where we find the Equalizer. implicit contract renewal, clear mirror calm water, and punctured memory before making it to the boss against the Knight of Despair.
기묘한 수를 두는군. 간혹 개의 안에서 바둑을 두며 이런 신묘함을 보곤 했는데.
기꺼이.
Okay, Knight of Despair. Easy fight. Not a problem. I do love this fight.
사랑과 정의의 이름으로 지금 이곳에 등장!
Hi, Queenie.
너는
Good to see you
저기로
again.
가고, 넌 앞에 서고. 하, 내가 건드릴 필요가 없네.
I love this fight
그래 뭐.
because she's here.
치고 오라고.
But also, more than that, it's just the best fight in the game, in my opinion. Something about it where you just have to play into the Knight of Despair's gimmick to be able to win. Unless you're like already like
탑공.
completely overpowered beyond belief.
징계팀 직원이라면 당연한 판단이긴 해. 잘했다는 칭찬.
And the best part about being forced into playing the Knight of Despair's gimmick is the fact that
굴레인 거야?
기꺼이.
in doing so, you allow the Queen of Hatred to get the finishing blow, which is the best part. The best part about this fight.
대성공이야. 가른 신나. 노래 부를까?
방금 전에는 굉장했다고.
정의보다도 푸른 자유, 사랑보다 붉은 자유.
기꺼이.
I don't really have much else to say. Not at the moment, anyways. Like, this fight's pretty typical. You beat the hell out of the knight, break your swords, and give the kill to the queen because she deserves it. The hardest part about this fight is actually that last part of giving the finishing blow to the queen, because half the time you're so overpowered that, like, yeah, you do way too much damage. In fact, it's like, I think the previous like 5 times I've done this floor,
운명 속에 파묻힌 그대의 이름을 걸고
I accidentally overkilled the knight.
조금만 더 힘내자.
And yeah, that's really bad because it means my queenie cannot get the finishing blow.
기꺼이.
So we won't let that happen this time. That's why I'm only attacking the knight with the skill ones, basically. Just to make sure I don't do too much damage. There's no way a single skill 1 does 2,000 health worth of damage. Or single skill 3, sorry.
완벽한 한방. 시원한 걸.
As expected.
이것 봐. 환상체를 제압하는 건 우리만으로 충분하잖아.
우리 앞을 막는 증오스러운 존재들에게 나와 그대의 힘을 합쳐 위대한 사랑의 힘을 보여줄 것을! 분명하네.
기꺼이.
아르카나 레이!
We definitely would have been able to kill the knight like 4 turns ago if we attacked her with more than just skill 1s, but then we wouldn't get the queen the finishing blow, and that's the most important part.
있는 힘껏 찔러놓고
Can't avoid that if you can help it.
저것들은 언젠가 다시 재생하겠지.
We head into the Heartbreaking for the next floor, where we find Fin Fugality. night vision goggles, and the dueling manual book 3 before making it to the boss against not Heathcliff and friends.
저놈들 흐름이 바뀌었어. 저쪽 조장이 한
All
번
right. Heathcliff and friends. Let's go. I like this fight better than the alternative 1v1.
제가
It
도움이
just
될지는 모르겠지만
it's more interesting, you know what I mean?
노력해보겠습니다. 기꺼이.
And it's purely more interesting because there's more to do in this fight, you know? Because when it's just Heathcliff on his own, it's like all you can really do is just do damage to him and that's it. Whereas for this one, you have to specifically attack his minions, you know? And you have to specifically attack the right one to be able to turn off his special sin barriers. It just gives it more interaction, you know? It makes it a much better fight. Even if the fight itself is kind of negligibly easy because yeah, we're kind of overpowered for floor 5 right now. I'll say that much. That becomes blatantly obvious when you can just completely ignore the most difficult aspect about this fight, which is the envy barrier. Fully damage doesn't matter when you can just kill them in 2 attacks. We head into time killing time for the next floor where we find Death Seeker, Midwinter Nightmare, Thunder Branch, Smoking Gunpowder, and Late Bloomer's Tattoo before making it to the boss against the Time Ripper.
적들이 뭔가 기분이 좋아 보이는 것 같아. 카론 기분 나빠.
Alright, Time Ripper, morbidly damaged, my favorite. Doesn't matter though, because, yeah,
환상체를 제압하는 건
we do too much damage. We're gonna knock him into second phase like pretty much instantly here. Well, maybe not because we only have skill 1s, but the skill 3 should probably be enough on its own. Unless it doesn't crit with every coin. But even without that, this game's funny sometimes.
다른 직원에게도 도움이 될지도 몰라.なんだかただならぬ気配を感じます。
와, 엄청난 공격이었어. 기념할 만한 걸.
Well, if we can knock the Time Ripper into a second phase that quickly, it's like, yeah, the rest of this fight isn't gonna be any harder. We just instantly took out like half his health bar with a 1 attack. We don't even have lunar memory. We don't even have lunar memory yet. And we're already doing this much damage. Poise is so stupid sometimes. It really is. Ah well, I'm not really complaining. Big numbers are fun.
이 파괴 이제 좀 볼만하네. 자, 주지 말고 계속 제압으로 이어가. 흩어져.
저희 직원들이 기자의 부위를 파괴했어요. 성공! 역시 미리미리하게 잘했죠.
We head into the evil defining for the next floor where we find Piece of a Relationship, Standard Duty Battery, Broken Revolver, an extra skill 3, Charge Type Gloves, Guiding Gas Lamp, and Lunar Memory before making it to the boss against the Pequod Trio.
얌전히 잠들어 있어야 할 놈들까지 눈을 떠버렸나?
Alright, scary fight. Well, not really. It's just because we start the fight fatal to most attacks, but that is easily solved by just using any random ego, so yeah, not really scary. Scary if you can't use an ego, but otherwise, pretty free.
가타 대기만 해도 썰려 나가는 걸 보니
Honestly, the biggest problem is the fact that we don't have a whole lot of healing available.
또 경보가 울리는 것 같아.
So
기꺼이
Ahab might hit us a little bit too hard here in a second.
사정
Because like all of our healing is coming from lithograph right now.
이것 봐. 환상체를 제압하는 건 우리만으로 충분하잖아.
And in fights like this where there isn't a whole lot of enemies, it's like, yeah, you don't get a whole lot of healing from that.
엄청난 공격이었어.
At least,
기념할 만한 걸.
thankfully though, our damage is so ridiculously high that we can just completely bypass the entire, like, we can pretty much entirely bypass Ahab's main gimmick of hiding behind Queequeg by just staggering her instantly with a single attack, so that's cool.
합공창.
This is kind of ridiculous damage already. We're only on like what, floor 7?
차포잡이.
찾지 못할
예상한 것보다 움직임이 더 좋구나.
It's crazy how strong we are.
뭐냐?
흩어져. 찾지 못할
너는 좀
있는 힘껏
자질이
찔러놓고
있는데.
웃겨놨지만
나중에 따로 술
저것들은
좀 할래.
언젠가 다시 재생하겠지.
We head into Yield My Flesh for the next floor, where we find Special Contract, Broken Blade, Red Stain Gossypium, Torn Bandolier, Torn Hems, and another skill 3, before making it to the boss against Bamboo-Headed Kim.
제가 도움이 될지는 모르겠지만
Alright, here we go. Bamboo-Headed Kim. Potentially a very, very difficult fight. I mean, look at this. 135 potential damage there. Yikes.
기꺼이. 합공창.
All I can say is, hopefully
칼날이 잘
we have
들어야
enough damage to stagger him
그
before he
공격이 약점이었겠지?
can kill us. I think we barely have enough.
기꺼이.
I mean, we definitely don't survive a second turn. That's for damn sure. If we had like Grey Coat or something, maybe, but we don't. So just gotta hope this does enough damage to stagger. Otherwise, we're dead.
합공창.
But it does. Absolutely, it does. Nice.
물렁물렁한 곤약 같은
Scary fight.
가타
Bamboo-Headed Kim is always
썰려
scary.
나가는 걸 보니
기꺼이.
Especially if you're fatal to his attacks and have no healing.
승객이 딱콩 한 번
But yeah,
먹였어.
있는 힘껏 찔러놓고
we just do
웃겨놨지만
ridiculous amounts of damage, so
언젠가 다시 재생하겠지.
doesn't matter. We head into Refraction Railway, Line 4, Section 4 for the next floor, where we find the Fragment of Hellfire and Blue Star Shard, before making it to the boss against the King in Binds. Alright, King in Binds. Another pretty scary fight. I mean, just look at all this damage. And the worst part is we can't really do anything about this damage.
기꺼이.
All we can do is just hope we get good RNG and
이 불도.
yeah, are able to survive.
예술의 황홀경치.
We can take out 3 of them with an ego, but oh, that's half our health bar.
너무 아프게
One
맞았는데?
attack. Nah, we need to keep resetting until we get good targeting.
죽은 놈에 대한 복수. 기꺼이.
At least this time we can actually move before half the room. So that's good.
このまま行けば敵を食い止められます。
As long as we don't die, as long as we don't lose our entire health bar, it's fine.
나를 탓했거잖아.
Perfect.
나를 나쁜 세피라로 만들려는
Actually
거야.
perfect. We have to use another ego because we will die otherwise, but We did it. Alright. Only took a couple of resets to get actual good targeting, or I should say speed tiers, because the speed is dependent on what characters the ego actually ends up targeting. And I guess also kind of favorable, like, attack rolls, or favorable skills that the Pekatulum use, because there is a lot of, shall we say, do we just let Regret go off? I think, yeah, Regret's not that bad. And this expend knowledge attack is substantially more threatening. I don't want to just ego spam the entire time, you know. I only want to do it if I have to. Which means tanking Regret.
너희들의 사랑의 힘이, 빛의 힘이 저 어둡고 악한 아르카나들을 뒤흔들었어.
Yeah, not that bad.
이대로면 승리도 시간 문제겠지?
It makes his attacks harder to clash with, but like, not by much. I'll say that much. Okay, I think we have to tank something else here. Dimension Shredder? Dimension Shredder's not that scary either. I mean, technically we don't have to clash with it, we could just use an ego, but, you know, like I said before, if we don't have to, I don't want to.
승객이 딱콩 한 방 먹였어. 해냈구나. 나라도 그랬을 거야.
뭐냐? 너는 좀 자질이 있는데 나중에 따로 술 좀 할래.
상황이 끝나면 티피리트에게 방금 상황 녹화되어 있냐고 물어봐.
I thought we lost that clash because of the single missed coin there. Thank goodness the clash prediction lies to you about how strong it actually is.
사정없이 몰아 흩어져 찾지 못하리. 받은 만큼 했을 뿐.
And now that we've cleared the Pekatulum, yeah, the King in Binds, he's probably gonna die in a single turn, like, especially with 5 skill 3s. I'd be surprised if he doesn't die in this turn. I do wish he had more going on, like, the Pekatulum are definitely the hardest part about its fight, but like, he himself is just so cool. I wish this second section of his fight was just longer, you know, so that we could appreciate him more. Oh well, what can you do? We head into the Surrendered Witnessing for the final floor, where we find the Rusty Commemorative Coin, Phantom Pain, Illusory Hunt, Old Wooden Doll, and arrested him before making it to the boss. Very interesting. This is honestly the better of the 2 potential fights on this floor. Maybe. I don't know. They're both kind of similar in levels of difficulty. This one's got a lot of slash damage, but the other fight would have a lot of like upfront damage, right? So this one is probably the better of the 2.
기념할 만한 걸.
I mean, the biggest difference between Jiamu and Jiakyu is the fact that
피해였네.
저 어둡고
우선
악한
검을 물리는
아르카나들을
것이
뒤흔들었어.
this fight does not have a
시간 문제겠지?
기꺼이.
it does not have a DPS check like the other fight does.
찾지 못할
소리 준것 같아.
Its only real DPS check is just
완벽한 공격이었어.
can you do damage instead of actually needing to do a certain amount of damage before you hit before you get insta killed. So yeah.
기꺼이. 탑공창.
방금 공격. 다음에 다른 개체에게도 다시 해봐줄래? 영상으로 남기면 다른 직원에게도 도움이 될지도 몰라.
물렁물렁한 곤약 같은 놈이 있어.
Oh my god.
얘기만 해도
This character's
썰려 나가는 걸
ridiculous. This is the second fight where we just like skipped through the first phase just because we do a ridiculous amount of damage. It's so anticlimactic when that happens, you know?
숨기기 딱콩 한방 먹였어.
Like we don't even get to attack Zilu, right?
탑공창.
Ah well, what can you do? Just casually doing
탑공창.
2,500 damage
완벽한 한 방.
every
시원한
single
걸.
attack. Like it's nothing.
탑공창.
절묘한 하나비였군.
있는 힘껏 찔러놓고 으껴놨지만
The other fight would have been less anticlimactic than that one.
언젠가 다시
Oh well.
재생하겠지. 나를 계속 고용해라. 봉헌의 여러 협객 중 내가 별나게 보일 수 있겠지. 하지만 그 후엔 흑수들보다도 뛰어나다는 걸 알게 될 거다. 그때는 너와 나의 목적이 이루어진 후다.
And that's how I beat 10 floors of Mirror Dungeon 6 hard using only Drifting Blade Ryoshu. She's a pretty average poise identity with good damage, good rolls, and just all around a pretty useful kit. To really make her shine though, she kind of needs to be used with Lord Honglu, although I wouldn't ever go as far to say that it is necessary to do that. It just gives her a lot more utility. Anyway, that's it for me. Like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Goodbye!